Yo, what's good? Happy bedtime. I got my green tea, sleepy time tea in here. No, my name doesn't start with an L. Don't even worry about it. This was just in my apartment. Anyways, I put way too much lemon in my green tea today, but I'm still gonna finish it because green tea is good for you, and I have it every night before bed, so I'm still gonna finish it. Yo, I can't even lie to you. I'm dog tired. Also got my faux Nito, my Fido, that I got off of is it AliExpress? Alibaba? Something that I shouldn't have been buying stuff off of, but I literally got it for free. Literally got it for free, and I really want to Nito because I'm pretty sure I have arthritis in my hands. Gonna get that tested soon, so I won't be self-diagnosing, but my joints hurt all the time. Anyways, that's not even what I wanted to talk to you about today. Um, Today we're gonna talk about what childhood poverty does to a motherfucker. Motherfuckers like me. Hello, my name is Amaya. It's very nice to make your acquaintance. Promise that I'm normal, but I did grow up poor. So if you're scared of poor, sorry. I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to scare you. But no, seriously. Um, I didn't I don't have anything really written down to talk about. In fact, I remember, when you forget the stuff that you're going to grab and, whatever. Oh, well, I wanted to grab my journal. My journal's not in. I journaled in bed last night, fell off my bed. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Okay, wanted to write down my journal. Or, shoot, I just wanted to have my journal just in case I needed to write stuff down because I do need to write stuff down. Have a hard time cart cart car what's the word I'm looking for? Compartmentalizing. That's the word I was looking for. Compartmentalizing my thoughts. That's why I journal. We might touch on that a little bit in a second. I don't know how long my phone is gonna let me record, so I'm trying my best to speed through this because I felt really compelled to just have a quick yap. Because you know what? I talk to myself a lot. And I would so much rather be talking to you, my good dear friend, lifelong, really, you and me. We go so far back. We're about to go way back into the way back machine. So yeah, like I said, my name is Maya. I grew up in poverty. Some would say extreme poverty. I don't call it that because I was never homeless at any point. I have a very big, amazing, loving family who would have never let me and my mother be homeless on the street. But we was damn near. We was damn near. I am considered far below the poverty line. I've worked very hard for everything I have now. I love my life now. I have so much fun. I'm living the life that I always wanted to be living and then some. Um, so, it we'll get into this more. It never feels like enough success wise. I always feel like there's something else I need to chase, which is a good and bad thing. Um, but that is exactly why I wanted to make this video. Well, one of the exactly whys. Um, because I was just thinking about that a lot today. I was taking out my hair extensions, and as I was taking out my hair extensions, I just really felt like I needed to clean my apartment. And I felt like I needed to clean my apartment in that very moment. Like I said, I was taking out my hair extensions. Like I just to show you how abruptly I stopped doing this. I have a big rat's nest in the back of my head from my hair extensions. And obviously I haven't gotten it out yet. Um so we're gonna wear a ponytail tomorrow to work, but that's okay. Um but I felt like I had to stop. I couldn't function. I have my own room in my apartment. It's a shared space, the kitchen and the living room, and I just really had to clean it in order to, in a way, clear my mind. But it almost, when my space is dirty and or messy, I feel really weird. I feel really weird, almost like I did. Ooh, I'm starting to get emotional. Almost like I did when I was younger, living in poverty. And if you don't live in poverty, congrats. Congratsy. Just take a moment to be mindful, be grateful. Because it's not for the weak. And it will leave you one of two ways. It will leave you driven for success, driven for better, or I don't know the exact statistic, but I do know that it's more likely that the cycle of poverty continues. And I have 7 younger siblings. Wasn't always I didn't always have so many siblings. At one point I was an only child for about 7 years. Shout out to my brother for coming along and messing that up for me, but like it's fine. I'm not like totally salty or anything at all. Um Shoot, I forgot where my train of thought was even going. I forget exactly where I was going with that thought, but the point being is that if you did not live in childhood poverty, or you did not know somebody when you were growing up who lived in poverty, or just in general, I want you to take a moment to just think about something that I was thinking about today. As I was cleaning my apartment, I realized I needed to go get something. I needed like a new mopping situation. Didn't really like the mop that we had here. I needed something different. Cleaning supplies, how do I put this, aren't necessarily a necessity when you are living below the poverty line and you have children that you need to feed, as well as yourself that you need to feed and clothe and bathe, all of which these things are are already very expensive, these things. And cleaning supplies in and of itself, again, they are not a necessity. I'm not sure if they're even covered by at least Ohio State EBT. I'm sure some things have to be, right? But I could be wrong. Point being is that poverty is messy. Poverty can be really messy. Um, Low income neighborhoods are messy. They don't get cleaned up, they don't get picked up. There is no HOA when you live in low income housing. Sorry, like I said, I'm getting a little choked up. But yeah, there's nobody to come help you clean up. If you've ever seen like the show Hoarders, that's a really good example. A lot of those people are actually very poor, and they kind of cling on to these things because, maybe they grew up poor, or they've just generally been poor for so long, or low income for so long, that they feel like they need to hang on to these things because, I mean, things have value, even this thing of Vaseline, non-Vaseline brand, but this has value, and if I didn't have this, I'd be down like what, the $1.50 it is for this. So in your mind, and I've been having to break this habit too, having so many things have that has value, but also the upkeep of things costs money, and time is money. So the time it takes to clean things, the materials needed to clean things, and again, it just not being at the top of the necessity with your food, water, shelter, clothing. And again, when you have X amount of children, even one child, really, um, that gets tough, especially children who cannot yet independently take care of themselves. It gets really difficult to manage. So, I was thinking about that while I was at the Walmart, my least favorite place to be. A Walmart. Walmart is one of my least favorite places to be. And it's not even like far from me. Like it's really, really close. But like for some reason, the 2-minute drive to Walmart feels like an hour. But I was in Walmart and I'm looking at all these cleaning supplies and I was thinking about that, about how expensive it can be to actually just be clean. And I live on my own now. I am completely moved out of my childhood home, Zuh, and I provide almost independently all for myself. Everything I have, I provide for myself. I'm in college. I have two part-time jobs right now over the summer. I'll probably still have two in the fall, but I'm gonna be working way less hours because y'all, I'm dying over here. Like I gotta get up in the morning for work. It's 11:03 p.m. right now, and I'm actually so tired, but I really felt compelled to share. So I was thinking about that, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like that kind of stuff makes me really upset. I don't want to say it makes me angry, but it makes me upset as somebody who grew up in that environment. But back to poverty is messy. Poverty is messy. Poverty is dirty. It is the anti-glamorous life. And not to pull an Addison Rae, but I always wanted more. Famous again. But no, seriously. I always wanted more. I loved Disney princesses growing up. I had the Barbie Princess and the Pauper on VHS, and I loved that story. I always thought like I was gonna Princess and the Pauper my way out of poverty. In a way, you could say that I am. Um, but I definitely didn't switch lives with a princess. That's what I wanted. Still waiting on that day, but it's fine. Also, if I look like super like oily and teed up right now, it's because I have prescription medications for my face now, which is new. Got my own insurance. Now I can see a dermatologist. And now I have oily face at bedtime. But it's fine because I like that dewy glowy look. But I do look really oily today for some reason with this stuff. But I always wanted more. I always wanted to get out of that. And when you're young, you don't realize that your environment is different from others. Take, for example, my favorite Disney princess was Ariel. And I felt like we lived similar lives, despite her being an affluent princess. But you know that scene where, she's got all this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think her collection's complete? That scene, I felt like that's kind of what my environment felt like. So I felt in a way like I was very similar to Ariel. Taking a swig. And as I grew older and I developed friends outside of um my apartment complex where everybody else was poor because it was literally low income section 8 housing, I realized that it was actually very abnormal how I lived. And I'm going to try not to get super emotional when I talk about that, but I realized that it was abnormal, that I was different in a bad way. And I don't remember ever until like high school having people over. And even like by then I was living somewhere different, just to put it simply, but I never had people over. So I was a cheerleader growing up. And the thing about cheerleading is very expensive. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a very large family, and I'm very lucky for that because my family being so large, there are people who are and were able to help me out, support me growing up. I have amazing grandparents who would help my mother and me out. So I was able to cheer my entire life. Just for the school. I didn't do competitive. I did really want to, but that's even more expensive. That's a whole nother video. The politics and expenses that come with cheerleading in America, or just in general, I guess. It's an American sport. But anyways, um cheerleading is expensive. So I mean, the stereotypes to an extent ring true, rich white girls do cheerleading. Rich white girls do cheerleading. Hello, duh, obviously. And that's kind of the main demographic. I will say I went to what is it? What do they call it? Title One schools? Is that what it means when the majority of the student body live in poverty slash low income housing? I think it's called Title One. But what I'll say about that is all 8 schools in the county I grew up in were Title One, which I think speaks a lot to Middle America. Again, other video. But even being in this Title One school, I was a cheerleader, and so that was kind of the demographic I was surrounded primarily by. And like I said, that was when I started to realize that I was different. I realized this relatively early on in smaller ways. Like I remember in the second grade, there was this beautiful program. I wish I knew the name of how they got us these, but like they got us these really nice, beautiful coats for children whose parents couldn't afford them essentially, or like your parent like had to put in for one and like you had to have like a certain income to qualify. And I just thought like the Santa Magic Fairy just like dropped me off this coat, and it was literally like I remember it was the cutest coat ever. Like I think it was pink. It had like a fur lined hood. It was bougie and I liked it. Maddie knew who she was from a very young age. I've always liked a little bougie, little fur moment, or just a bougie moment in general. Um, but I remember thinking like, why didn't everybody else get a coat? Like I felt bad. I was like, what? But like I also felt special. Like Santa dropped this coat off for me because I think that's what it was. Like they were saying like Santa coats, or I don't know. All I know is I got a coat, and it was definitely because I was poor. Wasn't because Santa picked me, it's because I was poor. Or maybe that's why Santa picked me, because I was poor. But that's okay. That's okay. And like I said, I think that was a very beautiful program that they did. And um that was just like kind of the first like small inkling that I got. But like I said, I was an only child for a considerable amount of time, about like 7-ish years before my brother came along, and then my 7 other siblings followed suit very short after, one after the other. And that was a difficult realization to make. Um, Gosh, I remember, what grade would that have been? I'm trying to think. Maybe 7th grade. It was middle school. The event I'm thinking of is middle school, and one of the fellow cheerleaders of mine, she like invited some of us over to her house for like a slumber party thing, and we like go to her house, which I had been to her house before, and I mean it was way nicer than what I was living in, but like even like I knew that like it wasn't like crazy. Okay, like it wasn't like I didn't walk into a mansion, again, like these schools are Title One, but her mom got this new boyfriend and they were building a house. They were building this house, and it was like further down on the property, like we took a golf cart or something to get there. And that was the first time. Actually, no, no, I know. I know when the first time I realized how different it really was, how much the other half really lived. I had a best friend in the second grade. Ooh. Or no, no, no. Was that second grade? Yeah, that was second grade. I had a best friend in the second grade, and I went to her house for a slumber party, always a slumber party. And first of all, come to find out years later, like she lived in the richest neighborhood in town, one of the richest neighborhoods in town. Um, but we pull up to her house. I already clocked from the outside, this is a big ass house, right? And I'm in the second grade, and I remember it so vividly. I walked in, and right when you walked in to, what is this, my right? To my right, there was this massive spiral staircase, like one you would see in the movies. Like, I think It's kind of similar to the one that's in the White House is what I'm thinking of, because I'm thinking of like when they put the tree out for Christmas and they've got like the two stairs that go up. It was like that. It was beautiful, perfect, like picture perfect. And that was on one side. And then they had like this big open living space. And then in the back, it was all open, but it was raised, was this long movie style dining table. And I was like, whoa. Whoa. Y'all be living like this? This is where you come home to every day? Oh. And it literally had never occurred to me to be living any different than I had. And I remember I said some things to the mom. Again, I was in second grade, so I wasn't really thinking. Um, I don't know if I want to share what I said to her. It wasn't like that big of a deal. But just the response she gave me back was like like she realized that like I was poor. And I don't remember hanging out with that friend much after that. Though I do still love her to this day. She's cool as shit. We don't talk at all. I just like her Instagram stories, I guess. But yeah, that was the first time it occurred to me that people lived differently than I did and that I should be embarrassed, for lack of better words, for how I lived, and that people not only would judge me for that, but it almost the right word isn't offends, but it freaks people out. Like being surrounded by poverty. It's kind of like the anti being surrounded, they say like being surrounded by like positivity or affluence, like will kind of put you into that same environment, get you into that same mindset, and like you'll end up being more affluent, more positive. It makes them feel not even more like they're more impoverished. Ew, there's like a fly closing my trail mix. But and honestly I feel it too even now. But it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable. And so to me, back to my apartment being dirty. Took us a while to get here. But I realized I came home. Okay, I came back to my apartment with my cleaning supplies and I get to scrubbing my floors. And I'm scrubbing my floors. I have three different floor cleaners, y'all. I want you to know too that like I've never been a clean person. I am very much type B. If there's a type C, that is me. I have never been the one to keep anything tidy. Um, Especially like in high school and stuff, which I mean like that's normal for a teenager, I guess, but like even like the past couple years I was really nervous for living on my own because I knew that like I would kind of have to literally clean up my own act, clean up my own ass, clean up my everything, clean my own toilet, like. And I was thinking, like, how am I going to get myself to do that? I've changed a lot since coming into college, even just the past year. I feel like I've changed a lot. A lot of things about me have changed, specifically the way I think has changed a lot, all for the better. But my own experience also shapes that. And so I'm cleaning my apartment, scrubbing my shit down, scrubbing these floors with this mop sponge thing. I don't even know, but it looked like it was going to do the job, and it did. And I was cleaning it, and guys, what if I said that I swept the floor with this mop sponge situation 5 times? And I mean, like, maybe like the first 2 times, like, yeah, it needed the second over. I'm just not sure it needed the other three. But it was just I was feeling so anxious the entire time I was cleaning. I also had a really bad day at work, which I think went along with it. But I was cleaning the floors and it was like I had body dysmorphia, for example. And it was like I had some kind of cleaning dysmorphia because I was looking at the floors and I could see physically that the floor is literally glistening and the floor is clean. Thank goodness. The floor is shining and I can see that. I can identify that objectively, but my mind is telling me that this floor is dirty. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. This, that, and the third. And it's literally clean. Mind you, it's literally clean. It's literally glistening in the light. And I realized that maybe the problem isn't my apartment. It isn't the floors. It's not the mop situation. It's not the cleaner. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe growing up in poverty does things to a motherfucker. And maybe one of those things is it makes you really uncomfortable and discomforted by mess. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to see if there's like any studies to do with this. Um because I'd be willing to bet if this was a stock, I'd be putting my money all in because I am willing to bet. Ew, I really hope you can't see this fucking fly. I'd be willing to bet that there's big money there. I would almost guarantee that I am not the only person feeling this way, and that is why I felt so compelled to do this. Because again, like I said, like I don't think the problem was the floor. I don't think, especially now, I gave my apartment a really good clean today. I don't think that it's anything like I want to say that I don't think it's embarrassing, but like, gosh, my brain like one thing out of like my room is such a different story too. Like my room is such a mess right now, but I don't know for some reason in my head it's different in the living space. And I lived with my mom for a good deal of time, and then I started living with my grandma, who is a very tidy, neat freak person. And she always got on my nerves in that way. But she was gonna make sure the house was clean before guests came over. And I also think it's a little bit of PTSD from that. But I think the juxtaposition, sorry, but I think the juxtaposition of those two different environments, those two different lives, in a way, come together for me like that. Like some kind of, I don't know, what do you call that? Kind of dysmorphia. Like environmental dysmorphia? Ooh, can I coin that? Ooh, trademark, trademark, trademark. That probably already exists. Everything's already been thought of, huh? Did think about doing a series on my original thoughts, or what I think are original thoughts that I want other people to think about. This might be one of them, but I don't think it's original. Like I said, I'm willing to bet that I'm not the only person feeling this way. And if you feel this way, um, particularly if you grew up in poverty and if you're still in poverty right now, know that it gets better. It can get so much better. But the hard part is there's no princess in the pauper. I'm not gonna cry, but you have to do it yourself. And it sucks. It low key sucks that you have to do it yourself. Not even that it sucks to do it, but it's just the thought of I was just a little girl and I just wanted to be like the other little girls and I wanted to wear the things that they were wearing. I'm very much a girly girl and I've always been that way. My favorite color is pink and I'm not ashamed. But being a girly girl is expensive. Being a girl, period, is expensive, let alone a girly girl. And though I do, again, have an amazingly large family who did spoil me, I do think I still, despite growing up in poverty, I do still think I grew up spoiled. I still, I couldn't compete with them. I still can't compete with them in many ways. Like I said, I'm in college now. I have my own place. I'm in a sorority, if that speaks to how much I've elevated my own situation. My own situation. I pay my own bills. I pay my own sorority bill. I pay my rent. I have a car that I bought myself. All of this by me, for me. But, there are times when I'm reminded that I am still different. And I think that I've made some amazing bonds and some amazing friendships in college. And I want to speak that particularly in my sorority. I think that I've made some great bonds with these girls. But like I just said, I still even notice today that I'm different. And it's tough. It's really tough. Um because again, just like cheerleading, there's that same connotation of the wealthy sorority girl, to which I'm really the juxtaposition. And I mean, I don't think that most of my sisters live up to, the stereotypical sorority girl, whatever you want to think. But I do think, in terms of the wealth gap, it is there, 110%. But if that's what you want to do, obviously I pay for it, I make it work, and I still have like a shopping addiction amongst it all. So like you can do it. You can do it. In many ways you can have it all. But in terms of, I do feel like I fit in, but I will always feel different, and I'm not sure that feeling will ever go away. But your situation can get better. You have to be the one to do it. The princess will not come switch lives with you. Unfortunately, nobody actually wants to do that. And if the pauper really lived poverishly, I don't think the princess would have ever agreed, which, whatever. She was not poor enough for my liking, but it's a Barbie movie. Um, that I literally just said I loved. Because I did. Should rewatch that sometime. I haven't seen it in ages. But yeah, nobody's gonna come do it for you. You do have to do it yourself. But the good news is, it's not as hard as it seems. You just have to be willing to do it. And that's the hardest part. Actually getting yourself to do something, getting yourself out of the mindset. This is already getting really long. So I hope you've enjoyed this yap. I can yap more in the future, speaking onto this similar topic, especially as it pertains to getting yourself motivated to get out of a living situation that no longer benefits you, suits you, no longer represents the way you want to live your life. Um, but again, you have to be willing to do it. That is the most difficult part. I cannot stress that enough. And I don't want to sound like arrogant, but I do feel like people ask me for advice a good amount of the time. I don't know how I got to be this way. Maybe it's because I've lived so many lives, this impoverished one being one of them. But people do ask me for advice a lot, and that is the biggest thing I tell people, and that is the hardest thing for people to do. Even today, somebody called me. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Somebody called me and asked me for advice. It had nothing to do with them being in poverty. It had everything to do with a boy. And I gave her very simple instructions on some Nike shit. Just do it. And guys, I don't think she did. I don't blame her though. I don't blame her. But that is the hardest part, is doing it. But I think that is because a lot of people are scared to fail. Stretch and be prepared to fall. That's the best advice I've ever been given. The best thing I've ever heard. That's definitely like an actual quote from somewhere, but I heard it from a professor over my last semester. Um, and that really stuck with me. Out of everything she taught, I wrote a lot of things she said down, but that was a big one. Stretch and be ready to fail. I take absolutely no opportunity for granted. I leave nothing on the table, and when I do, I have that same feeling that I did with cleaning my apartment. I feel like there's more I could do. I feel like there's chances for me to do more things, for me to go bigger. And I do, despite how it might look to my peers, I do not get, I don't think that's the right way to word things, but I do not get a lot of things. I do not get things handed to me. But I put I put myself in this positive mindset, and I believe spiritually that there's something there. And also, I put myself out there continuously over and over again. When I don't get something, I don't give up. I try again. I try for something else. I try for 5 new things after that, and I keep going until I get my desired result. To me, especially as a young girl growing up in poverty, there has never, even times when there still was not a doubt in my mind that I was going to choose a different path, that I was going to live a different life, that I was going to live an affluent life, and that I was not going to continue the cycle of poverty. Being the oldest of 7 siblings is difficult. Being the oldest, period, is difficult. But older, being old, period. No, I'm not that old. Okay, I'm going to be 22 next month. I'm actually really unexcited by that. But again, another video. Um, but it's hard. I feel like a monarch in a way. I've always felt like I needed to set a really good example for them because one, I want myself to be successful, but two, it's really important to me that my siblings escape that situation, that my siblings do not continue in that cycle. I'm very family oriented, and my biggest motivation is that it is my family. Um, as much as you'd have to waterboard me to get me to admit that. Because I sometimes have difficulties being sappy like that and expressing my emotions, but as you can see, I'm working really hard on that. But yeah, everything I do is for my family. Even like my future family. Again, we're getting into new video territory, but I think about all of those things every day, every single day. And that is my biggest motivating factor. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's what I need to start telling people. First, you need to find something that motivates you, and then you need to just do it. But the thing that motivates you, see, and this is where I struggle with this because while I do this for them, I do it for myself first. Sorry, you have to be selfish first. You have to put your face mask on first, or else guess what? You both die in the plane crash. And we don't want that. We all want to live. So you gotta put your face mask on first, then you put the kid's face mask on, and then you guys hop out the plane, right? That's how you have to approach this as well. So as much as I do this for my family, first, I do it for that little girl who wanted to be a Disney princess, who wanted to switch lives with the princess and the pauper. Unfortunately, I cannot make myself a princess, I don't think. I don't know. You never know with me, if I'm being honest. You really never know. We'll see if I get there. But I can get damn near. And I have no intention of stopping until I get damn near. Actually, until I get there. I have no intention of stopping until I get there, until I get exactly where I want to be. It's difficult though. I feel like I will never be satisfied. No achievements ever feel like they're enough. And that's another thing. It's multifaceted, of course. There's so many layers to it. But back to cleaning my apartment. Just to round out this video. My apartment's clean now, by the way. Clean as a whistle. In my opinion, the cleanest you've ever seen. Never been cleaner. They wish they could be cleaner. They claim to be cleaner. I'll stop. But I think I do a really good impression. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And yeah, if you can relate, please let me know. Tell me that I'm not alone in this. I don't think I am. And I want us to be together in this, united. You're stronger as a group. And yeah, your life doesn't need to be that way. And if it's out of your control for now, there are ways to get control in the present, and there are ways to escape that going forward. So just keep that in mind. Some food for thought. I'm gonna journal now before bed, and I'm gonna climb into my comfy cozy satin sheets because I'm a bougie gal. Remember, don't forget it. And I'm gonna talk to you very soon because I really liked this. Really nice, not just talking to myself while I'm cleaning. Oh my gosh, guys, I was actually having a crisis earlier. You saved me. Thanks. All right. Have a great one. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, I really hope this mic worked. Ooh. I forgot about that. Anyways, goodbye.